Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is DeeDee, and I'm so glad to be here with you today, exchanging some energy. It's 4:07 right now, and I just wanted to point that out because you'll hear me probably mention it a lot, like 147 and 47, and that is associated to a guide that I have, a guide. And so I'm just, if you start seeing 47, maybe it also could be talking about a guide that you have, or if you have a number for your guides. I just wanted to point that out because we're going to talk about something really, really interesting today. And it's really funny because I'm like sitting outside of this establishment, and I think I'm in front of a rose. You know what? I'm gonna get out and get some of this because I don't actually know what it is, but I feel like I want to get out and get some of it, so I am. I don't know, I feel like it might be rosemary. I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, so hold on, I'm about to go back into the okay. Excuse me for that. I just felt really called to get some, and I don't actually know what this plant is, but I'm gonna figure it out. Okay. What was I saying? Okay, so we're gonna be talking about something today that's very, very interesting. This is gonna be another one did I post the other video yet? I don't think I even posted that video yet. But this is going to be one that is definitely going to be probably a touchy subject for people who are, in, the Abrahamic religion traditions and are really staunch believers in it, But what I would just offer is just to ask Jesus about it, ask God about it, and in a lot of ways, that is how I got a lot of my information, is actually through, so I am not a Gnostic, like I don't consider myself to be a Gnostic, but when I was reading into Gnosticism, where it's talking about having actual spiritual experiences, especially characterized by spiritual experiences while you're still existing in this realm and functioning, right? Because some people have spiritual experiences and they can't function in this realm, and those people would be considered to be having mental breakdowns and things like that when they are having a flood of information and can't necessarily ground it or ground life. Now, I'm not saying that's everybody's case, but I'm just saying I have seen that. I witnessed that firsthand with a young woman one time, and she was standing outside the public library in New Orleans, and she was having a full-blown conversation. And so I just walked up to her, true DeeDee fashion. My mom would like have a stroke. But I walked up to her and I was like, "Who are you talking to?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm just schizophrenic. Don't pay attention to me." Like, she literally said that. And it's so funny because in my head I was like, this must be a joke. I'm like, you're way too conscientious of yourself and what you're doing to be really considered schizophrenic in this moment, I guess. Now, this is not mental advice. I am not a psychologist or anything, but I was just making an observation that she was pretty conscious to tell me that she was schizophrenic. So what I mean by that is just, she wasn't so far gone into this conversation with this entity she was talking about that she couldn't tell me that she was talking to an entity. Do you know what I'm saying? And so anyway, so I was like, well, who are you talking to? And she kept reiterating to me that she was crazy. She was like, I'm crazy. Like, I take medication. Like, don't pay attention to me. Like, like these spirits are always, well, she didn't say spirit. She was like, these people are always talking to me and I'm crazy. I'm schizophrenic. And I was like, okay, I heard you, but is it somebody that you know that's talking to you? And I guess she was just really, really surprised because no one had really ever poor baby. No one had ever really asked her, with a, I guess, genuine curiosity of like who she's talking to and what they're talking about. And not with like the undertone that you're crazy, And so as we started talking, she let me know that she was talking to her uncle. Because I was like, okay, is it a voice that you know? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, someone that you know is family or a friend? She's like, oh yeah, it's my uncle. And I was like, oh, okay, he passed away. And she was like, yeah, how'd you know he was dead? And I was like, well, I mean, you could be schizophrenic, and I'm not giving you, mental health advice, but I would definitely at least look into mediumship. And she had never heard of being a medium before. Never heard it, which is crazy because at a point in time, I had never heard of mediumship, but I'd had mediumship experiences, right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm not Gnostic, but I have had Gnostic experiences, right? Because we're talking about, these titles and these energies and these belief systems and these ideologies and, years of research and study to put together a organized system of classification. But at the end of the day, in this, part of it, the experience predates the characterization of it. So before there, was a term of medium, people were having mediumship abilities. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. So anyways, I kind of forgot why I brought that up, but I'm sure for a really good reason. Oh, look, there's this Ford in front of me. And every time I see a Ford now, I always think of the ferryman with the river Styx. The Ford or the ferryman. So anyways, oh yeah, and I saw this woman with this turtle backpack, and I was like, oh, I guess Jesus is related to turtles. And she had this turtle shell backpack on. And I'd never seen it before. I haven't seen it before. It was so cute. Okay, anyways. So that's just what I would say, because these are experiences and this is information that you can definitely get for yourself. And you can just, sit in prayer and be like, I heard DeeDee talking about X, Y, and Z today, and she's under the impression that, Jesus is this person. Can you confirm or deny that for me? And then if you feel like God comes and talks to you and is like, that's not Jesus, then, comment down below. I'm open. But anyways, I was just saying that a lot of the time that these things that I'm coming across are things that I've had a personal experience with, a lot of them, and I have a tendency, of course I'm human, so I don't say it all the time, but most of the time when I'm just like, oh, I read this, that's pretty much saying like, I might have had an experience with it, but not this deep. And so I read this. Versus like this is a personal, tangible experience that I've had. And so that's just that on that. Okay. All right. So let's get into this dream. Okay. Let's get into this dream. It's going to be interesting. So this dream started off with me, and I was in the cosmos, which a lot of the time I am. I'm in the cosmos. So this is the dark cosmos, because I have seen a light cosmos before. And that's a whole nother thing, which maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later, but there is a light cosmos. Now, of course, I don't see the light cosmos as much because I believe that Earth is underneath water, cosmic water. And so what we're seeing as a black cosmos is what we're seeing as a black cosmos. What we're seeing as the black cosmos, I guess maybe that's better grammar, is actually a reality that is underground. This great gulf, okay, is actually underground, underwater. And when you are very deep in the waters, when you try to look up at the surface, it can appear black, but it's actually not black. But that is like a distortion of water and stuff like that, and light, a distortion of light with the water. And so it appears to be dark. But I have been above the Gulf probably about 4 times in life. And it's really funny because when I've seen this white or light cosmos, and it has like this cream kind of color to it, and it's not really a cream, it's really close to white, but it has a cream appearance somewhere. And there's almost like this very, very, very subtle pinkish, orangish hue to it. It's very interesting. And it looks like very high class society energy, like not weird high class society energy like this, but what you would consider to be like, you know, really higher dimension and, you know, modern luxury kind of energy. It looks like that. So anyways, so this was the dark cosmos, okay? And I was standing on this holographic, I kid you not, it was a holographic dome in a sense. So I know some people are like, oh, we're under a dome, and we are under some type of dome, but this dome looked like if there were energy fields, I guess, in the cosmos that were big enough to be mountains. I'm trying to figure out how to say it. So it's like, you know, frequencies, and these are like dense frequencies that create dome shape, but you're really looking at like a sort of physical manifestation of, you know, what do they call them? Like altitude troughs and something. So like what you're looking at as this dome shape is like a really high altitude frequency where you can see where the frequency starts up again and then it's going down. But it is tangible and dense, okay? But it's not exactly a mountain because it's kind of like a matrix kind of situation, but it has density so you can stand on it. Okay. And so I was standing on this thing and it was pretty far above Earth because I remember looking down on it and it kind of looked like those jungle gyms. I know in middle school, I went to a school in Alabama and they had a jungle gym like this where, you know, you like climb and they have little gaps in between there and you can stand on the top of the jungle gym, you know, like those domes. That's kind of exactly what it looked like. And so I was climbing up it and there were all of these zombie looking beings. And so I was like fighting, you know, and everybody was like trying to get to the top of this dome. So like I said, when I was looking through the kind of gaps, I could see Earth like way down there. So this dome situation is pretty far above Earth. So I was just like fighting, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to get to the top and these zombies are trying to stop me and blah, 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 right? And then I got about halfway up the dome before I realized that I was really just fighting myself. And I'm saying that because at some point I realized that I wasn't getting hit back. And I wasn't hitting them. Like it was all like just kind of some type of interaction in my mind that I thought something was going on. But I wasn't hitting anything and nothing was hitting me. And I was like, oh, I'm tripping. Like, I'm like, is this a simulation? Like, is this a simulation? Because it's not even something. Okay. So that's when I realized that these zombies were programmed to look scary and like they were fighting and clawing to get to the top. But really they were just like programmed characters. So they didn't have any type of density to them at all. Like you guys, I literally was up in the cosmos fighting myself. Okay. So I'm like, whatever. That's that. So I just get to the top. Okay. So not the very top. Let me slow down. So that when I realized that I was about midway up this dome. Okay. And so as I realized that they were just like programmed, like, you know, literally like, you know, a game character, like no density whatsoever. I started noticing that they were climbing up to the top and they were like, you know, gnashing their teeth and all these different things. And then I realized that there was a part of the dome where they were like literally climbing and disappearing. So they were like only programmed to go to a certain level. And then they kind of just like glitched out and disappeared. So I was like, this is kind of wild actually. So I just started climbing up to see if I could get past the point where they were falling off, right? And that's when I noticed there were two figures standing towards the very, very top of this dome. Okay. So when I got up there, like, you know, right as I'm getting up there, I realized that this first figure is Jesus. Okay. So he is on the part of the dome where the zombies, you know, like a few steps above where the zombies fall. Okay. So as I get up there, I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, Jesus, what's up? And I'm talking about my friend was not smiling or anything, okay? It was a tough crowd, okay? It was a tough crowd. He was not laughing whatsoever. And so I'm like literally, like true DeeDee fashion. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You know, like what's wrong with you? And so he was like, that's not my name. And I was like, look, I'm not gonna lie to you. You go down there again, because I don't know if you're in this second coming energy or whatever, if you didn't popped up or, you know what I'm saying, whatever has happened. But you go back down there talking about your name ain't Jesus, you about to get crucified again. That was really bad. But, you know, like the sound they make with the drums when, you know, like that's the punchline. And it was a tough crowd again. Like he did not find it funny. And I was like, I'm crying. And so I'm like, okay, well then what is your name? Let me know what your name is. Okay. And so that's when he started talking to me, but it was in a language that I could not recognize. So he was talking to me for like a little minute, and it just was going in one ear and out the other. But my subconscious probably caught it. But my conscious mind was like, I don't even know what language you're talking in right now, and I don't know what to respond to you. So I was really just trying to listen really hard to see if like my brain would catch any kind of word he was saying, you know, because it's like when you don't know the language at all, it you know, especially when you're listening to someone that's talking fluently, you can't make out any of the words. You don't know like what's a book or what's a movie or what's a name versus what's an everyday item. It just all sounds like gibberish, right? And so that's when I noticed, because I kind of zoned out a little bit, but that's when I noticed this woman who was standing behind him. So she wasn't, okay, let me say it differently. She was not standing behind him. She was on the top of the dome. Okay, so he was not on the top of the dome. She was on the top of the dome, and I immediately recognized that as Mary Magdalene. And she had, you know, the blue cloak around her face. She had like this kind of off-white, kind of silver robe around her. And I saw like an overlay image of her standing on like a half moon, like a half silver moon. And she had stars around her head. So it was like the woman cloaked with the stars. That's what came to my mind. The woman cloaked with the stars. And like I said, she was like standing on, oh my gosh, I saw that in oh my goodness, I need to go back and review that, because I saw that in a dream recently. And I didn't even know that they were connected to each other. Actually, that's wild. Okay, wait, I'm going to pause for like 2 seconds and talk about this dream that I had, because I didn't even put these two together. Because maybe this is a Middle Eastern story, I don't know. But I had this dream like last week or something where I was up in the cosmos. And there was a woman, and she was teaching me about how women don't have an organic process of having babies anymore. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, well, women go to an iron tree to have babies now. And so she literally took me to some place on earth, and it was like in this big old clearing. And there was grass. I don't remember. It was weird because I don't remember seeing any plants. I don't remember seeing any people. I don't remember even seeing any flowers. It was just all blades of grass. And like this little iron... Yeah, let me take it back. There was a little iron plant next to this huge iron tree. And it looked like iron scrappings. Like not even just like, you know, a tree that was made of iron, but it was like iron scrappings that had been like placed together to make a tree. It was wild. And then there actually were iron birds, you know, like traditional birds that you see, like little brown birds, like, you know, if you just think like a stereotypical little brown bird, it looked like that, but it was silver. And there were these indentions in like the iron bark that were supposed to be the caves for these birds, okay? And so I literally saw like an aspect of myself come out of my body, and I saw her, and she had this basket of fruit, I think, and it was real fruit, this basket of fruit, and she set it down at this tree, and that was like the offering, I guess. Maybe that's connected to the cornucopia now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm thinking about Fruit of the Loom, and they say that it never had a cornucopia and like fruit and stuff, and I know that's a lie, especially like in 96, 97, like yeah, I know that it did, because I remember it very vividly. But anyways, and so like you leave the basket of fruit at the tree, at the iron tree, and you go into one of the caves, and I pulled out this silver, I kid you not, it's the same silver thing that I saw her standing in. And it's like this silver kind of like half moon situation. And it was supposed to be in the dream, it's supposed to be representing a boat. So it was like some type of silver boat, and then you rode on the boat, and at some point you got a baby. And I remember it was just like the strangest dream. It was just the strangest dream ever. So I was just like, okay, maybe this is a mythology story, and obviously like it's telling me something, but it must be a mythology story, because you literally pulled the silver out of the cave where the birds were, and you had to like stand on the silver and figure out how to ride it. And it was like almost like a skateboard, but it was very, very thin, so you had to be very good at balancing to stay on this thing, because it was like not easy. And that was the way that you got a baby at some point. I don't know if it took you somewhere, or I don't know, child, but this is what she was standing on. She was standing on this thing, okay? And the other thing about her is that, so Jesus looked like me, okay? He was flesh, blood, tangible, dense, okay? She was the one standing at the top of the dome, and she was like a watermark. Like if you have ever had the experience of seeing a passed on loved one as an apparition, or have seen apparitions, you know, and I'm not talking about just like ghosts, because sometimes they can come in almost like a, you know, watermark, but it's like almost faded, and so you might not, you know, you could kind of just brush that off and be like, oh, that was just a shadow. But no, I'm talking about like an actual apparition, to where you see the person fully, but they're just not dense. They look like a watermark, like Microsoft Word, and they have like the watermark you put in the back of the text. That's what she looked like. But I could see her, I could see color and stuff like that, but she looked like a watermark. And when I saw her, I immediately was like, oh, she's the hidden one. That's she is the hidden one. She's the hidden one. And then that's kind of when I started tapping back into Jesus, and like I could feel that it was time for me to wake up on earth, because I was starting to be like pulled backwards, and then I was going to be like brought back through this dome, like underneath it, back to earth. And so as I was being pulled back, he started naming these names. So he like switched his dialect, okay? Because the first dialect he was talking in was not the next one. Now, I didn't know what the next one was at that point either, but I remember him saying Hamash, Shamash, Hamash, Hamza. And when he said Hamza, I was like, oh, I've heard of the Hamza hand. He was like, Hamza, Shamash, I am Shamash Hamashia. And I was like, oh, okay. Now at that time, I had not heard of that. Like maybe subconsciously, maybe like, you know, you can't ever say never, because we're in a world where there's constant information. But I, at that point, had not really heard of this. But I had heard of the Hamza hand, of course. And then I actually saw an apparition of a goddess with the Hamza hand in her palm. And he was like, this is the goddess of the Hamza hand. And I knew that he was saying that in some type of way. She was like going to be like a guide to me. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know Hamza hand was connected, because it was also connected to the evil eye. And I didn't know that the Hamza hand was connected to the evil eye at that point. But I heard him say Hamza hand goddess. And then he showed me the Hamza hand with, the evil. Does the Hamza hand have the evil eye in it? Maybe it was that I didn't know that that was called the evil eye at that point. Because I think the Hamza hand does have it. Yeah, okay. So it does have the eye in it, but I didn't know that that was the evil eye. I don't think I really heard of an evil eye just yet. Now, I had seen it because there was, that's a whole nother story. But he was like, this is the goddess of the Hamza hand. And so I was like, okay. And so he specifically told me that this was a Palestinian goddess. And I remember being like, but it was also in Jewish tradition as well. And so I remember, because he just kind of said that. He was like, Jewish tradition and Palestinian, that it was a Palestinian goddess, I believe. I could be wrong about, like, if he said it was a Jew. No, I'm pretty sure he said it was a Palestinian. Let me look it up right quick. Because I think it was like he said that it was a Palestinian goddess, but he was associating her also to Jewish tradition, so that I would find her in Jewish tradition as well. And so I remember being like, I don't even think that I knew that Palestine had a religion before Judaism, or outside of Abrahamic tradition, I guess. Or, I just didn't know what they were talking about at that time. I had never heard of a Hamashiach, and I sure hadn't heard of a Shamash. But when he said Shamash, I pretty much got an image of how it was spelled. And so immediately, so that was the end of it. I immediately woke up and I researched Shamash and Hamash and Hamashiach. And to my surprise, it was immediately a thing, because, sometimes I get words or I get phrases, and, even in different languages, and it takes me a while to find it. Everything doesn't just like pop up on Google, or sometimes I'll get led to listen to a specific video. In the middle of that video, they start talking about, what I was experiencing. And so Shamash, of course, is the Sumerian, right? Oh my gosh, wait. Hold on a second, wait. Let me just make sure that he's Sumerian, or is he just Mesopotamian in general? Let me see. Okay, so they say that he's was an ancient Mesopotamian sun god, either known as Utu. Also known as Utu. Earlier known as Utu. He was believed to see everything that happened in the world every day, and was therefore responsible for justice and protection of travelers. As a divine judge, he could be associated with the underworld. Additionally, he could serve as the god of divination, typically alongside the weather god Adad, which of course Adad is connected to Asherah, which is connected to the Jezebel energy. And so of course, it says, while he was universally regarded as one of the primary gods, he was particularly venerated in Sapar and Larsa. Why do I keep saying Larsa? Wait, hold on, Larsa. Why do I keep saying Larsa? I'm trying to say Larsa. The moon god Nana and his wife Ningal were regarded as his parents, while his twin sister was Inanna, who is Ishtar. Okay. And then he was married to the goddess Aya, who's also Sharita. Okay, so a little tidbit about that, because I didn't actually know who this woman was at first. But at the same time that Ray was having the dream about the double labyrinth, and me like hitting him over the head with the hammer. I think that I posted that dream. Maybe I haven't yet. But that same night that he was having that dream, I was having a dream about a woman. And I thought that I was awake. And she was sitting in the room with me and Ray. Okay, so this is my dream. So she was sitting in the room with Ray and I. And she was sitting on the bed. And so I knew that we had like a very, very deep connection to each other. Like we were like best friends. Okay. And she was telling me about some of her relationship issues. She was telling me about some of her relationship issues, and I was giving her some, friendly marriage advice. So we were just like talking almost like sisters. And I knew that her name was Sharita. And like, again, as he was, telling me about it, I was writing down this name, and I was like, who in the world is Sharita? And then I found out that Sharita is the consort of Shamash. So I was like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. Okay, so anyway, so I ended up finding that out. And then, of course, the goddess of the Hamza hand, or the evil eye, of course, is Miriam. Okay, which is another Mary. If it's not, I don't think that it is Mary Magdalene. I'm assuming that it's a different Mary, but I don't remember seeing another Mary out there. Because, of course, they're talking about Mary as Miriam as the sister of Aaron. Right? Her name was Miriam, and she is considered to be the Palestinian goddess of the Hamza hand. And then, of course, Hamashiach. I forgot what Hamashiach means. Let me look that up right quick. Hamashiach. But, so I kind of forgot what it means because I ended up finding this woman on YouTube who is doing this really good breakdown of the gematria of Hamashiach in relation to other Hebrew words. It's Hebrew, right? Hebrew. And she was talking about that Hamashiach actually means the correct interpretation of Torah. That by understanding Jesus's story, you would understand the correct interpretation of Torah. And in that way, he would be the fulfillment of Torah. That there are a lot of stories that once you understand the language and what the connections are to the language, then you see a whole different story that's unfolding than what the original, well, not original, like what the common modern day translations of it are. And you start to understand what is actually being said. And I remember in that video, and this woman's name is Doreen Dantor, I believe, or Dantor. Oh, snap. Okay, I'm gonna go back to that because that's wild. Oh my gosh, I didn't even make that connection. Doreen, was it Dantor? Oh my gosh, wait, I have to look this up right now. I'm sorry, you guys, like live in action right now. This is literally like sometimes how I start making these connections, because again, hold on, let me see if that's her last name, because I could be tripping. I'm gonna have to really go back and do Dotan. Okay, I'm sorry, Dotan. But I kept seeing that as Dantor in my mind, so I wonder if they're connected to each other. But anyways, I'll link that video down below. Ooh, and she's got some numbers that are definitely associated to me. Okay. So anyways, and she's talking about correct interpretation of law, of the Hebrew. Right, it is correct interpretation of Torah. Oh yeah, look, and they have someone who talks about her in the Nephilim, and that was the example I was going to use just now. So she was giving an example about Nephilim, and she was doing this really good breakdown, which you're gonna have to check out the video because I don't remember it in detail. And really, like, nuance is so important when you're dealing with the spiritual realm, especially over like millions or thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, but I really think millions of years of human existence, and in whatever way we existed before we had human avatars, nuance is actually really important. So I would check it out. But the overall gist of what she was saying is that Nephilim, when you understand the interpretation of Nephilim, that they are really much like babies in the beginning of the spiritual experience. And so what we consider to be a fall or them doing negative things is actually something that's a part of the growth process of beings who are coming into like physicality and learning how to, in a sense, like get along with people. And so, in the same way that, you have a toddler and, they learn to hit because they're not getting what they want, or, they're screaming at other kids, we wouldn't say that they are, sinful or possessed or something like that. But we would say that they're going through the very tough process of going from a singularity into a world where you are thrown in the midst of society. And so you have to figure out being social. and there's gonna be bumps and things, along the way. And so the Nephilim were more like children, in a sense, more than just these evil beings that were just like doing the most. Now, I'm not saying that they weren't doing wild actions, because eating humans is pretty wild. But in the sense of when you look at it from a different perspective, you understand that some things are unfortunately a part of the growing process. When kids learn how to walk, they bump their heads a lot. And it's an unfortunate process, but eventually they get the hang of it and they stop falling. And so I thought that was very, very, very interesting. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And I actually have seen like Shamash, right? Because now I just call him Shamash. I have seen him a few times. So I saw him like maybe twice before this dream. And those are pretty wild things. And I think that that's a little bit too close for home to really discuss at this moment. But after that, I had seen him. Hold on, wait. Let me get this grammar correct. I had seen him. Okay, hold on, wait. Okay. After I had this dream, I saw him at least 2 more times. There we go. I had to find it, okay? I saw him at least 2 more times, and I'm pretty sure both of those times were associated to the road to Damascus, and we were on the way to Zion. And that's specifically what he said. We are on the way to Zion. And so I wasn't exactly sure what we were going to be doing in Zion or why we're on the road to Damascus. I didn't get that far, but that was the goal, though, was going to Zion. All right, my friends. Well, that is everything. And so make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. Heavy on the commenting, have questions, similar experiences, all of those things. I would love to hear about it. Comment once, twice, 3 times. I really don't care. Comment, especially, and I'm gonna say it like a few times, since the channel is really small right now. It's really easy for me to talk to people and talk about different things and put these pieces together. So that's all that I have for now. Make sure you share with a friend, all those fun things, and come back and see me. Bye. Oh wow, and it's actually 38:35 when I was ending that, and that if you listen to it, it's like one of the numbers of my oversoul, who's Amma. And it's so funny because I went to go, so I just like came back and I had to like add this because I forgot to mention this. And so I was like, who is the lady cloaked with the stars again? And so it's actually in Revelation, and they talk about the woman crowned with the 12 stars, which in one of these videos I talk about the 12th density. And so that's an interesting connection because I forgot that little tidbit about the 12 stars. And they say that it's Mary herself, which I'm guessing they're talking about Mary, the mother of Jesus. I would definitely say that it's actually Mary Magdalene. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. Okay. I'm 1,000% sure it was Mary Magdalene. And so that's a whole nother situation to talk about. But what I did want to say is that this hidden one, and I know that this is going to be so touchy, but I would just really, really meditate on it, okay? It's going to be touchy. But I knew when she was presenting herself as Mary Magdalene to me that she was actually also an overlay of an Egyptian goddess, okay? Which when I say Egyptian, I'm really talking about, deeper in Africa and, deeper in Africa. And so this is one of the goddesses that predates pre-dynastic Egypt. And so they were she was a part of some of the older civilizations of Africa. And so I knew when they said the hidden one, I knew that they were talking about Amunet. Okay, so AMA, which is Amma, and then Unet, so UNET. From what I understand, that means that she is the mother of Nit or Neat, which also could be also Newt. And she is considered to be the hidden one. Now, this is not something that I'm getting from, I was about to say a TV show, from, the internet or anything like that. But I do know that, they'll say that she is just like the feminine counterpart, to Amun. And I don't believe that that's accurate. Now, she could be associated or later was associated to Amun. But she is not the feminine, like just the female version of Amun. She was an entity completely separate from Amun. And so I'm assuming, a moon, which of course, is Amen, right? I know. Amen, Amen, Amun. It's all connected. Which, of course, if you go into the Dogon tribe, then you know that the being that they believe came from Sirius, they'll say a man, they'll say it's a male energy, Amma, but that's Momma, okay? So that's a woman, that's a female energy, Momma. Just like, a lot of the time we say Baba, and Baba in a lot of traditions, especially surrounding Africa, the Middle East and stuff. The East, Baba is a term of endearment or honorific title that is associated to a male of high regard. So in that way, we honor him by calling him Baba or father. In that same way, Amma, which you can find Amaratu, Amunet, Amma in the Dogon tribe, a lot of people call their mothers Mama. That's a woman, a female energy. You'll see that they also call her Amen, also Amen. And so I wanted to just add that tidbit too, because that's what she was presenting herself as, the invisible one, but invisible is dependent on belief systems and what reality you're existing in. Because she is not invisible to all. She's invisible to some. And she is hidden to some and then not hidden. And so it's almost like she is hidden or behind, but still in certain ways above a sun or male energy, right? Because Shamash is a sun deity as well. And that's what Jesus is known as, the Son of God, even though, a Trinity, right? I'm just letting you know, for a Trinity, for a triangle, for a pyramid, it takes two to make one. Sometimes it could be more than one. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you might not get anything at all, which is the sad part. But for a basic Trinity, you need a mother and a father to create a child, whether it's a son or a daughter. And so Christianity has a way of just completely exiting out the mother energy and putting her as the Holy Spirit, Ruah. But there's a mother goddess. That's how you get more gods. Okay. So I wanted to add that because I forgot that. And that was also really essential. Now, also know that Marduk is also called the Hidden One. So there's probably a few people called the Hidden One. But when I was seeing her, I knew that she was Amunet, which they'll say is a reflection of our moon. And that is not true. And like I said, he might have been associated to her at a point in time. But in certain ways, she predates him. Okay. All right. Now that's all.